Hey, what's going on there, YouTube? This is SEL0320 representing JVS. So I'm back here again for another review. This time I've got an early screening, and it is for Alien Covenant. This is directed again by Ridley Scott, the visionary, the epic. Unfortunately, this one is not what I expected, and that is not on a positive note. They bring back writers such as Dan O'Bannon. They bring back Michael Fassbender from Prometheus. They have a couple newcomers with Catherine Waterston in the role of Daniels. They got Billy Crudup, who played Dr. Manhattan. They've got Danny McBride, Jussie Smollett. But let's go ahead and just break down this film because I did an early discussion about it as soon as I got out of the theater, and I had expectations and at the same time merits to my concern coming out of the film, as much as I was comparing it to certain things. And so I'm just going to break this down. So from a visual aesthetic, I think that the visual effects did a good job with the things that they used to utilize for practical effects. What I mean by that is when the aliens, for instance, when they burst out of people's chests, now you actually get to see the smaller aliens and how they just kind of stand up and move and maneuver, and it's very immersive. I think the latter part of the movie, when they got to the actual full-fledged aliens, they did a good job. The visual effects for the actual aliens were really good. The issue came in early when I noticed that when they got to this uninhabited planet, and essentially they showed the scale, but in comparison to movies like Arrival or even the original Prometheus, the first one, I felt like this was not expansive enough than what I expected. My expectation was, all right, you got Prometheus that, was not quote-unquote an alien movie, but even though it had an underlying feel to it, it was very much so its own contained story. This is supposed to be, and I believe it's trying to direct it to be, an alien film, but coming off of Prometheus. And so it kind of winders in a lot of different ways because of that. But I think that with the visual effects, I think that it should have been so much more, especially with the expansion of the world building. I think that, of course, the ship and stuff like that and the practical effects of how they actually go and maneuver through the ship is classic. It's nostalgic. And I think that for those people that are Alien fans, they will definitely love the progression of the slow burn. But personally, for me, I didn't feel semblances of tension. But I'll go into that more when I get into the story aspect of this. When I think about the acting, so Michael Fassbender, who plays the role, not necessarily the role that we remember him from Prometheus, is very different this time around in so many different ways. And of course, he's an amazing actor. I feel like he not necessarily was underused, but he was just used differently than I expected. And I'll tell you my fault with why, without even spoiling anything. And then you got a newcomer with Catherine Waterston, plays the role of Daniels. Something tragic happens very early in the film, but she's never, to me, feeling like an established protagonist. She never feels like the actual hero. I don't even think there's an established hero of the story. That might have been the progression for me. It's kind of going this downward spiral as far as the film and my take on it. But actors like Billy Crudup, that plays the role of Orem, who is the captain, is weird because his acting is really good. It's just his character makes very dumb decisions. And I will get into that more when I get to the story aspect. But you got Jussie Smollett from Empire. You got Danny McBride, who I thought both of them, I didn't think that they were going to do good in this at all, but they took their roles very seriously. They committed to them. But just certain things just did not work in terms of the story, not necessarily the character progression. But let's go ahead and break down the story. So you got this crew, this colony that's got this 7-year expedition, and from a science fiction standpoint, it's not unheard of. But I was coming off of Prometheus, I was they don't know what they're getting themselves into. So there were levels of emotions that I was feeling, tension that I was feeling early on, just because I knew what the crew didn't know. And that would have been fine up until they got to this uninhabited planet and they start making very dumb decisions. This one person makes a dumb decision, this another person makes a dumb decision. Oh wow, you're continuously going with this, and that becomes its own cliche. And at the same exact time, it ruins the expectation levels that I'm having because I'm now expecting this to happen. I know this person's gonna die because this is just a trend that keeps on happening. In which that might be fine for the normal moviegoer and the alien lovers, but it's just, I don't want nostalgia. I want something new, and that's what Prometheus kind of gave me. When I sit there and watch a character, you know, go and they're like, all right, I'm gonna go urinate somewhere, and instead he's sitting there smoking a cigarette, and then something happens, I'm like, that's too predictable. It's way too predictable. And I think that there's a lot of moments that towards the middle that I was just like, I was picking it apart. I started noticing myself picking apart a movie, and I was like, I need to take a step back and just try to enjoy this, because for people to make so many dumb decisions, it just irked me. Like, some of this just didn't make sense. I knew when characters were gonna die, and I hate that. I want you, you know, to take, you know, of course, a symbolicism of these creatures, these aliens. Take the mythos of what we already know, take the mystery behind Prometheus, and give us something elevated if this is a direct sequel of Prometheus. And it didn't fly for me for whatever reason. I think that there are moments that I liked about the film, but when I really think about it, it was just kind of like very underwhelming, because I could predict everything that was going to happen. And it was like, I should have felt, coming out of the film, real anxiety. I should have felt like, you know, suspense or intrigue or mystery. Like, when I came out of Prometheus, I felt away. I was like, oh my gosh. And there's nothing after the credits, by the way. And I know this sounds like I'm tearing the movie down, but I think, like I said, a lot of people came out of the film with this understanding or this philosophy that mankind don't know how to thrive and survive because they are a dying breed, and they're doing everything they can to keep their life support. And now, what is the next stage of this kind of progressional chain? And you could say evolution, but I think that in terms, when I think about like the character Michael Fassbender is playing versus the aliens, it's just what's next. Like, is this merited that humans should survive, kind of thing? And I think that a lot of people see a deeper meaning with the perspective of the movie and the philosophy behind it, specifically with David and, you know, his dad in the first film. But that's only touched on in this. And there are moments of Prometheus that are touched on, and then there are moments of, like, you got the alien side of it, and I'm just like, pick one side or the other, because I don't know, it just felt really flat for me. I don't know that I like the film. I know that sounds so bad, but I don't know that I was very, like, this happened, that happened, but I never felt anything. Like, and I hate that. I hate that feeling, unfortunately. So for me, and this is not necessarily good, but I was really torn between giving this like a 5 out of 10 or maybe a little bit lower. I'm going to contain it with the 5 out of 10 because there were certain surprises that do happen that come from Prometheus, and characters that, you know, do certain things that were dumb, but the way that it was visually captured was like, it was really like, oh man, that was jacked up. And this is a very gory film. This is definitely a rated R gory film, but there were some deaths that they were so stupid that I predicted them, and I hate that. I think that this could have been so much more smarter, more suspenseful, more endearing, more charming in a way. And I was just really surprised by what Ridley Scott did with this one, unfortunately. And I know that a lot of people have kind of like really praised this, but for me, I just couldn't, unfortunately. But hopefully you enjoyed this review. Hopefully I give you guys some insight. But again, I would definitely recommend still going to see the movie. Regardless of what I'm saying, if you're an Alien fan, go and check it out. You might feel something different. I know plenty of other reviewers that really liked this film, or at least thought it was decent or okay. And I'm not saying that this is the worst of the worst, but when I think about Alien films, like, this is not better than Alien Resurrection with Winona Ryder and Sigourney Weaver for me. I felt like that was more entertaining. I actually cared about the characters more, but this, I think it didn't have a protagonist. It told me too much. I predicted everything, and I didn't feel these levels of suspense that I think that the movie was merited. So that's my final thoughts. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this review. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Peace, everybody.